Welcome to another edition of Reflections. Tonight we're going to be talking with Judy Adams, and she is the Adult Education Director at First Friends. Judy's going to talk to us about the Recovery Ministry Program. Judy, what exactly is Recovery Ministries?
Well, it's classes and groups, small groups, for people who have been through and are still suffering from life's painful experiences. They're people who are experiencing dysfunctional backgrounds, which is anything less than nurturing, which when you really think about it could be almost everybody, because many times we come through life with something missing and a need there, or codependency, counting on a person, a thing, instead of working through things. And for those who are experiencing life's griefs, sorrows, losses, those just desiring change and the healing process.
Why do you offer these classes at First Friends?
Well, we offer them because we care.
That's nice.
It's that simple. We care. We now have 13 ongoing classes that we're offering. And as I was thinking about it, really there's so many people affected by the pain and the hurt in our world and by poor choices, maybe sometimes their own, sometimes other people's choices. And we're just helping people work through those hurts to find the peace and to become who God created them to be.
How are your classes and groups different from therapy groups?
Well, we don't have, most of our leaders are not trained counselors, but we have people coming together to share, to talk if they want to. They don't have to. It's not a processing that's, has to be. It's according to their pace. We usually have a book or a study guide that we use according to the topic that we're covering. That is our guideline. And we have confidentiality, as most groups do, that are really dealing with the tough issues. But we're just carrying people who are there to help people make a difference in their lives.
It's nice to know there's those people out there. Maureen, you have a group called Coming Back. That's
Right.
a really interesting title. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, this is a class that's meeting at 11:45 on Sunday mornings, and it's designed for people who have been through major life changes of some sort and are left with how to go on. How do I keep living? How do I rebuild my life?
Who might benefit from these classes?
Well, anyone who has been through a crisis such as death or divorce, loss of a child, loss of custody, a major illness or accident which has changed their physical abilities. Sometimes moving to a new location brings that kind of a crisis. Or natural disaster, floods, fires, tornadoes, whatever.
Now, your class meets on Sundays at 11:15 in the morning, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
What are some other characteristics or traits that help people to rebuild their lives?
Well, there are a number of them, but probably first and foremost is a sense of faith in something higher than themselves and hope that things will get better. Other characteristics that have been found in survivors or rebuilders or whatever you want to call them are things like a sense of humor, the ability to see what's funny about a situation, the ability to ask for help and receive it, and to find supportive people to get it. Even small things such as being able to love animals are characteristic of people that successfully come back. And there are many others.
Who are some of these people?
Well, we're going to study a number of them. One in particular is Joseph in the scripture, who was taken captive to a foreign country and had to rebuild his life from the depth of a prison. David, who went from being a shepherd to being a king. That's quite a major life change. Mary, the mother of Jesus, who had all her hopes pinned on her son and watched him brutally murdered and had to rebuild her life after that. In our generation, there's people like Elizabeth Elliot, whose husband was killed by Auca Indians, but she went back to rebuild a life among those same people. There are a number of others.
Thank you very much. That's really interesting. That sounds like a great class you've got.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Our next two guests are Diane Kendall and Howard Pizer. And Diane, you're going to tell us about your 12-step program that you have. What is a 12-step program?
Okay, our 12-step program is very similar to the AA program, only with that we incorporate the scriptures. We emphasize those every week because they're very important to help get our lives straightened back out. In the program, this helps us to understand and accept our behaviors that we've picked up maybe from a dysfunctional situation. Also, we create a safe environment. In this environment, we try to let people feel secure so that they can learn how to talk, trust, and actually feel what their feelings are, because many times people freeze their feelings. In this program, we also help people to accept the past, to accept what happened to them, to acknowledge it, and to go on, to let the past be the past, and to develop a hope for their present and their future, so that they know that the patterns and the behaviors can be broken.
Okay. You have two 12-step programs. How are they different?
Okay, the 12-step program that I help facilitate is a 28-week commitment. In this 28 weeks, we cover each step in a 2 or 3 week period. We have a homework assignment, written and reading, and I like that because I'm a teacher. Yeah, so with the homework assignment, you come prepared to class. Right? And then in class, we have a written assignment. We get into small groups and large groups, and just discuss what's going on in our lives, and finding out what our patterns and behaviors are, so that we can turn those over, surrender them, and go on with our life.
Who could benefit by this class?
People that have lived in dysfunctional situations, a codependent, as Judy said before, somebody that depends on people, places, or things to make their life happy. And so we try to change that by allowing a person to find out who they are on the inside, so that they don't depend on external stimuli to make their lives what it needs to be.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay.
Howard, you're going to tell us about your experiences in recovery at First Friends.
For me, the 12-step program was something that I needed, but I didn't know what I needed. And I was searching, and I was going through some things in my own personal life that I needed answers, and I was looking and searching, and some way I got a memo about this 12-step program at First Friends, and I wanted to be involved in a program that was in a church setting. And that was my first visit to First Friends, and I went in on a Wednesday night to the group. And when you're going through things, so many times you're alone, or you feel you're alone, and no one else understands, no one else can relate. And then when you go in and there's 30 people there, and they're all sitting with the same feelings you are, or a lot of the same feelings. And then there was a group of men there that we formed our own small group. And I think the family the family unit is the most important unit. Right. And there within that 12-step group, you form a family. And all of a sudden in your family, you learn new rules. And the rules are you do talk, and you do feel, and you start to trust. And just through that whole process, and recovery is a process. Recovery is growth in the life of an individual. It's not going to be it's not going to be an overnight situation. It's going to be something that's going to take time, but you've got to learn to trust and to talk and to share and to open up. And then when you get 6 or 7 men that are doing that, and all of a sudden, it's amazing. We have a very close unit of men who can do that. And then you get together in the whole group with the ladies and the men too, to share in a bigger family kind of unit.
It is amazing.
It is amazing, and it was kind of interesting too. When I left the first couple weeks, I walked out and I just looked at the church and I saw the sign First Friends, and I said, this is what true friendship's about: sharing, caring, being able to open up, and being vulnerable, taking risks. Right. So that's.
You're still learning, and you're still getting from this, but you're also facilitating some of these groups now.
Right now I'm working with Diane and I work together in a group, and I take a men's group and we form another nucleus, and we're working together. But I'm learning just as they are, and it's ongoing. And that's a neat thing about it.
That's very special. Thank you very much. We'll be right back. Next we have Gail and Bob Harmelink, and they've been here before, and I've gotten to know them, and they're two very dear people. Bob, tell us, you work with the Divorce Recovery Workshop. Tell us about that, and when is it offered?
Well, the Divorce Recovery Workshop is offered twice a year at First Friends, beginning the first Friday in May for 6 weeks, and beginning the first Friday in November for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And what it is I believe that divorce is one of the worst things that can happen in a person's life. And the process of getting through that really is recovery that takes a long time. So the workshop was designed to teach what's happening and to help through the trauma of the divorce.
Tell me a little bit about the format and the topics that you cover.
The format is it's a 2-hour program. It starts with about a 45-minute lecture covering one of the topics that might interest the people, like how to get your ex in focus, or your self-esteem, or maybe the issue of forgiveness, what to do with children of divorce. So we have a lecture setting, and then there's a break where we have coffee and mill around a little bit. Then the people get into smaller discussion groups to talk about some of the points of the lecture, and they have an opportunity to share from their own experience. And for many, it's the first time they've been in a setting where people understand what they're going through, and that's one of the beautiful things about the workshop.
All right. You mentioned the children of divorced people. Do you have anything for the children?
Yes, we have, starting from the very young, we have babysitting available, and then grades 1 through 6, there's a program called Confident Kids, and this also deals with some of the frustrations that they may have as a result of the divorce. Then also there's the Teens of Divorce program, which is also a support group and gives them a chance to express some of their anger, their frustration.
And that's got to be kind of an ongoing thing with children too, because they go through different stages in that as they grow, so they could go on to different classes.
Yes, and if they don't work it out, the odds are very good that they'll go into a marriage and reenact a broken marriage.
Yeah. What's the cost, Gail, and what does that cover?
The cost for the workshop is $20, and that covers the workshop itself and also a textbook, which we alternate between spring and fall. So if you've been to one and you'd like to repeat, we have a different textbook the next time. And also some wonderful refreshments at the end. And anyone that would like to attend can register by calling First Friends, and they can call for themselves or for their children.
Do you know the number there?
Yes, it's 492-6333.
Good. That was my next question. Super. All right. Now, you also do Rebuilders. What is Rebuilders?
Rebuilders is a Sunday morning class that we started in response to requests from people who'd been through the workshop, the Divorce Recovery Workshop. They said, oh no, 6 weeks isn't enough. And we find that the process of divorce recovery takes about 2 years. And so we started this support group to cover that period in people's lives when they feel they need to be with other people who understand what they're going through.
And this class meets on Sunday mornings?
Sunday mornings, every Sunday morning at 9:45.
Okay. Why do people come to this? You kind of answered that a little bit, but...
Besides the recovery issues, there's a need to make new friends. Oftentimes you lose some of your friends when you're going through a divorce, and we found that we become a very close-knit family within the group of Rebuilders, and we support each other, and it's just a really neat place to be on Sunday morning.
What are some of the topics? What do you talk about there?
Well, it's Bible-based, so we talk about just about anything that may be on the hearts of people and in their lives, but we do always try to tie it to a scripture and a truth that will help the person recover and grow. It's a lot of fun. We sing. There's coffee. It's not a real solemn occasion. We just enjoy each other.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We'll be right back. Our next guests are Missy and Dave Bellini, and you're back here with us again, too. You're old pros at this. But you're here to talk to us about a group that you're leading called Lord, I Need Grace to Make It, which sounds really interesting. What topics do you cover in this class?
Pat, the book we'll be using has the same
title as the title of the class, Lord, I Need Grace to Make It. And it's put out by Kay Arthur of Precept Ministries. And the easiest way to explain what we're going to be discussing is to list some of the titles of the chapters.
Okay.
They're all questions. Grace for someone like me to cover all my sins, sufficient for every day, to cover even my failures, and sufficient for my sufferings and trials. So we'll be obviously touching on all of those topics. There's a few more also throughout the book too. And I think that covers a lot of circumstances that we've all been through in our lives. So it'll be an interesting course, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'd say it does. Who could benefit by this class?
Basically, Pat, anyone who struggles with a sense of failure or not being good enough, someone who may be suffering or going through grief or having a time of trial in their life. It's for any ages from teen to great-grandparent.
Okay. Will you be offering other classes for people who are hurting or grieving?
We hope to. Probably after the first of the year, we'll be starting a new class. We've done 2 other studies by Precept Ministries also. One was, Lord, Where Are You When Bad Things Happen? And the other was, Lord, Heal My Hurts. The Lord, Heal My Hurts deals more on a specific personal basis, on specific hurts that people may have or are currently experiencing. Maybe people who have trouble with anger or bitterness, people who have been abused or possibly have different addictions, and it's an excellent study. I think some people are hesitant to start a study like that because it does deal pretty deep on a personal level, but the rewards are tremendous. The other study that we're considering that we've also led in the past is Lord, Where Are You When Bad Things Happen? And that's perfect for the day we live in now. It deals with more global issues, and I think of all the problems with the droughts and the tidal waves that have happened, the earthquakes, the flooding, whatnot, and it really applies to those situations. But regardless of which course we go into next, they're all set up the same way. The first 45 minutes to an hour of each class deals with a discussion method, and the second hour is viewing a video which bridges from the lesson we're currently on to the next week's lesson. And each person will have a book that they actually do the study in and answer questions each week.
Okay. Thank you again, and congratulations on your new baby. Next, we're going to have Pat Fellman and Sharon Swanson, and they're going to tell us a little about the classes that they teach.
Hi, I'm Pat Fellman, and my husband John and I lead a class called Walking Toward Wholeness at Canton First Friends Church. Walking Toward Wholeness is a class for adults from dysfunctional backgrounds. You know, growing up in a dysfunctional background is a real painful experience. Unfortunately, when the adult leaves that dysfunctional home, that painful experience remains with him or her for sometimes a lifetime. And rules that are learned as an adult child in that dysfunctional home is that you don't talk, you don't trust, and you don't feel. And those 3 rules can be very devastating in trying to develop into a healthy, whole type of a person. So the class Walking Toward Wholeness has been designed to really attack those kinds of issues, to learn to talk, to learn to trust, and to learn to feel. And so that's Walking Toward Wholeness at 9:45 each Sunday morning at Canton First Friends Church.
When Christians are subject to terrible crimes against their bodies or their souls, like sexual abuse, there are terrible things that are put in motion that cause them terrible trauma in their lives. We recognize that only God can touch and heal that kind of trauma, and in order to help folks through those kinds of struggles, we have 2 classes. One meets on Wednesday night. It's called The Wounded Heart 1. As a basis for this group, we use the book by Dr. Dan Allender called The Wounded Heart. And we work through the issues involved around surviving sexual abuse. The statistics are absolutely overwhelming. Someone that you know has been abused sexually. These folks suffer in their relationships with others, they suffer in their relationships with themselves, and they suffer in their relationship with God. In order to have a safe place for them to explore the dynamics that are related to those struggles, this group, The Wounded Heart, meets Wednesday night beginning at 6 o'clock. It started this fall. It is led by a counselor. They use the book, The Wounded Heart, but they also use scripture as the basis for healing. For those who have gone through some of the healing involved in the struggles surrounding sexual abuse, we have another group that meets on Thursday night at 6 o'clock. That group is presently studying another book by Dr. Dan Allender called Bold Love. That group meets for an hour and a half, and we are exploring in that group what it is like to love someone who has abused us. That's a very difficult task, and in order for us to enter into relationships that are positive and healthy, it's one that, according to God's Word, needs to be dealt with in the light of forgiveness and in the light of what it means to truly love and to be loved. We stress that the groups are confidential. The groups are there for support. They're there for love. They're there to learn Scripture. They're there to lovingly help and support each other as the folks involved in those groups begin to deal with those struggles. We'd encourage you to consider being part of either one of those groups, the Wounded Heart group that meets on Wednesday night, or the group that is studying Bold Love that also meets on Thursday night.
Our next guest is Mike Wells. And Mike, you're here to talk to us about a couple different classes that you have going. One of them is Break the Cycle. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Breaking the Cycle, the title comes from, it's biblically based. The Bible talks about the iniquities of the fathers being cast onto the children to the third and fourth generations. But the Bible also talks about how God will show love to 1,000 generations of those who love Him and follow His commandments. And this class is basically geared towards those teens that have parents who have been divorced. And when parents divorce, the children go through a pretty drastic, lifestyle change and everything like that. And if they don't learn different ways of dealing with their problems, chances are that they'll end up in the same boat, as Bob mentioned earlier. The thing is that if they don't learn different ways to handle that, the cycle won't be broken. So that's where the title basically comes from.
That's really interesting. So instead of saying these are the children of divorced parents, you're breaking the cycle too by giving them a positive image.
The original name for that program for the kids was Teens of Divorce, and I'm a teen of divorce, and that title just kind of puts a label on you, and a lot of kids just don't want to have anything to do with a label like that. So Breaking the Cycle, Learning from Divorce was a new title, and they seem to think that that's hopeful. It gives them some kind of hope.
Well, along with that, what kind of changes do you see in these teens?
It's pretty amazing to see some of the things that go on. A lot of them, when they first come to the class, they don't want anything to do with it. A lot of them think that when you're a teen, you know it all, and you don't have to learn anything else. But after 5 weeks of the class, their attitude changes a little bit, and they start to realize, that they don't know everything that they thought they did, and things end up, a lot of them come back, to the next class or whatever. And this Breaking the Cycle class is basically something to help them out, to keep them going.
Where do you get these kids?
Well, this class, Breaking the Cycle, was a takeoff of the Teens of Divorce program for them. That's held twice a year, and whenever that class is over, by the end of the 5 weeks, it seems like 3 or 4 of the kids in the class are asking, is there anything after this? And a lot of them requested it. So we started this class, and there's probably 5 or 6 core people that show up.
That's wonderful. And then I'm sure that they have friends that are in the same situation. So.
Right. And I encourage them to reach out to their friends in school and stuff like that, because the kids that are from divorced homes aren't limited to First Friends Church or just Canton.
Right. That's right. Now you've got another class called Single Parents. And what makes this class so necessary?
Well, single parents, I'm a single parent myself, and single parents are up against some pretty enormous struggles. Just trying to, make a living and take care of your kids is the biggest struggle there is. And trying to manage their lives and take care of their children at the same time, trying to provide and take care of the children. The emotional and financial and social adjustments that they have to face are, sometimes it's just a lot to face by yourself. when you're divorced or widowed. This isn't just for, divorced people. It's also for widowed people. This class is geared towards helping the parents learn from their experiences and give them some kind of a solid foundation to stand on so that they can, rebuild their lives. The statistics of divorce basically speak for themselves, and if nothing's done to help these people, chances are they're going to end up getting remarried, and it's going to be a rough road for them to go. And as said before, their children will also, be next in line.
What are your expectations from this class?
Well, I think that people will get a sense of contentment, a sense of knowing that they're not alone, knowing that they can, press on, they can go on, they can learn from their experiences and be able to face every day and actually be able to smile once in a while and encourage other people.
Okay. Judy, do you have any other groups that you want to mention?
We do. On Sunday morning at 9:45, we have a group called Overcomers, and that's those that are working through addictions of any kind and using a 12-step program with the scriptures as well. And that's been an ongoing group for quite a while and very helpful for many people. We also have 2 Bible studies, one on Monday night and one on Friday night, starting at 7 o'clock.
Programs all sound just wonderful. Give us the phone number one more time if someone wants information.
All right, the number is 492-6333.
And ask for Judy Adams at First Friends, and you can get all the answers.
Oh, and we have a brochure to send out with information.
Great. Oh, great. Okay. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us on another edition of Reflections.